Hey guys, I'm back here again. Got another quick video here for you. We had a customer, a black guy. He dropped off his machine here a couple days ago, and he was having a problem with his chainsaw here. And what we found over here was his main concern was he was down there trying to, I think, cut some trees or limbs off one of his trees down in McKeesport, and he was having problems with starting. And also the thing was he said he had the chain loose on a machine, and he couldn't figure out how to put the chain back on a machine because he supposed he bought this like a second-hand chain, or I mean a second-hand chainsaw, or a chainsaw at a pawn shop down in McKeesport somewhere, and he couldn't give me exact information about the machine because he bought it used and stuff like that, so I just had like limited information to go on about the actual job and why it was acting up for him and stuff like that. So we found out the guy, he basically put the chain on backwards for one thing. He could not get the bar aligned correctly on the machine over here, and we had to put it back on it for him. Now it's working fine, and we just got done test running over here for that. That's why I got all these wood chips on my wall over here right now, because we were testing that to make sure the thing was functional before he called the guy up and give it back to him over here as well too. His other complaint was he said it was occasionally hard starting over here as well too, and we found out the coil was indeed failing on here. Here's the original coil right here, guys. It's a genuine Husqvarna coil. It's made by I think it's Phaeton on here, right here for that. They had the Phaeton logo on the bottom of the coil block right here for that. You have the logo Phaeton right above. It's basically right there for the logo, and also it's on top of the should be on top of the spark plug boot right here as well too. Here's your logo right here as well too to show you that. There's the Phaeton name right there for that. You can see it, Phaeton, P-H-E-L, or Phaeton. I keep on calling it Phaeton, but it's Phaeton. Sorry about that, guys. I apologize for my screw up. That's what the coil is. It's a genuine part. You can tell the genuine ones because they have this like a reddish epoxy inside down here, guys. This epoxy inside the coil right here for that. The cheap Chinese knockoff ones, they have like a black or like a semi-clear epoxy down inside these things. So be mindful when you're looking up parts for your machine. You have to get the OEM ones. The OEM ones have this reddish epoxy down inside, or the other Chinese ones have like a black or like a semi-translucent one, depending on where you source your part from. Because I've seen ones on eBay and also on Amazon, because unfortunately a lot of people who are cheap go online to like Amazon and eBay, and they want to try to find a real cheap part for like 10 or 11 bucks and stuff like that. And what happens is the part does not correctly work, or it does not work at all. So you have the option where the thing might work. It might work the first 1 or 2 times you use it, or it simply might not work the first time you take it out of the box. And we had to get a brand new coil for this chainsaw right here. This is the Husqvarna 240 model here with the X torque engine on here specifically for that. So you have your superficial designation right here, and you also have your identification tag sorry about that, on the front over here by the oiler reservoir right here for that. This one has the more in-depth detail about the specifications on the machine, so I'll give you a shot of that right here. This thing flips around here at a better angle. Sorry about it, but it's getting late in the afternoon. I can't really show you a real good angle here, so bear with me here a couple seconds. So there you go. There's your information tag right there. Husqvarna. And we got that done. Put the coil back on here. I'll put a link at the bottom of the page for the genuine OEM coil here, because the coil, what was going on here was we tested the machine over here, tried to start over here. I basically almost pulled my arm out of the socket trying to get this thing started over here a couple days ago. It would not stay running, and it was extremely difficult. I cannot say it more than that. What was going on was it was not providing enough spark to get the machine running correctly for us over here, and because of that, the coil was indeed weak. And we basically do a two or three tier system over here. We take the spark plug off the spark plug boot, and we put a brand new spark plug in there, and we put it next to the cylinder block on the engine to try to start it. And if it jumps that gap, we proceed on to the next test, which is the spark plug gap test. We have a special tool that has a small window. It's about a half-inch window inside of the actual little piece of block in there. If your spark plug system, or I should say the actual ignition coil system, is able to jump that gap, your machine should be relatively good to go. But this thing would not fire correctly. so we had to get a new coil, put the new coil on the machine, and proceed to do further testing with the job right here. After we did that, it was working perfectly fine. Had a nice bluish white spark in there. It was working great. It jumped a nice big gap on the testers, and it did not have any single problem with it whatsoever after that. So this is the gap tool we use over here to gap your ignition coils on your machines right here. This is the coil, and you have to put the gap tool between the coil and the flywheel, guys. So you have your gap tool right here. This goes between the flywheel and the magnet on the flywheel. So whenever you're putting a new ignition coil module onto your engine, you put this, you have your coil here, your gap tool, and you have your flywheel with the magnets facing towards the two arms right here for that. So what happens is this piece will pull down against the magnets, and you put this as a gapper, and you tighten it up, and you put your finger in the back here, and you push it down against the magnet so it's nice and secure when you're tightening up the two bolts to hold the ignition coil onto the engine, two mounting bolt area right there for that. So that's how you torque it up. And this part number right here is the Tecumseh air gap gauge 670297. That's how I use. I got about 4 of these over here because you never know when those things might go bad. Because unfortunately, they get ripped up on the other sides right here. This one getting scraped up a little bit right here for that, but it's still in good shape. So this is what you use when you want to air gap your ignition coil. They're only about like $1.99 on eBay out there for that. So they're relatively cheap out there for that. So I recommend using that whenever you want to gap your spark or gap your ignition coil to the flywheel. And what you do, you put your new ignition coil onto the 2 bolts right here. If you pull one bolt right here, another bolt in the back, what you do is you do that, then you put this gap against it right here, and you rotate the flywheel around till the magnets line up with the 2 points of contact on your armature right here. And what happens is then is the ignition coil pulls down against the magnets, and you put your finger in the back here, and you push down against the flywheel, and you torque up the 2 bolts on here, and you'll get a nice tight snug fit against the ignition coil, so it'll work fine. That's how you want to gap them correctly and install your new ignition module on the machine. Always make sure the 2 bolts are extremely tight and secure on here. You can put blue Loctite on it, but me personally, I really don't recommend it, but you can use it as an option to make sure they're nice and secure, because ignition coils rarely fail unless there's some kind of inherent problem with them out there for that. That's why I recommend using genuine OEM parts for your machine, because you have a less likelihood that your coil is going to fail if you use the OEM parts, because they're designed specifically for your application out there on the machine. And the ignition coil, I think they're about $25–30 on this machine. I'll put a link at the bottom of the page where you can actually purchase one. And then if you have a chainsaw here specifically for that, this is the Husqvarna 240 with the X-Torque engine right here, and I'll put the link at the bottom of the page detailing where you can purchase this new ignition module for this machine here. I'll go ahead and fire it up here for you. You can see it running here. So it does run indeed, because we did get done test running here about 10 minutes ago. Cut up a bunch of wood to make sure the machine's functional. See all the pieces we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I have I don't know, about a 3-inch, 4-inch block right here for that, so it's working fine. Even though the chain's kind of relatively dull, it's not throwing out a good amount of good clean wood chip. They're kind of small and powdery on here for that, but it is working okay. The chainsaw does cut, and we can call the customer up and tell them if they want a new chain. We can go ahead and do that. If not, we can just give it back to them as it is right now, because it does indeed run. So I'll go ahead and put the camera down here real quick and show you the functionality of the chainsaw, guys. So bear with me here for a couple of seconds. Let me get the camera situated over here for you guys. Okay. Let's see, let me see if I can get a good shot here for you. Okay. Let's do this. Let me do this right back here. Okay. Let's try that right there.
Yeah.
good to go. So there you go, guys. There's proof of the machine's functionality. Functions great. And it took a couple pulls to get going right there. So typically these machines only got one piston ring in the engine. So because of that, it's going to take a little bit longer to start as opposed to a higher end machine out there for that. So I just want to do a quick demonstration of the machine. It's working fine. If the customer wants it back as it is, they can take it right now as it is. So that's how you should normally do a quick demonstration of the machine. Because unfortunately, you have to show a customer the machine's going to run in front of them, because you can't have them pick it up and take it back to their house and have them leave it sit in their shed for 1 or 2 months, and they call you up the next week and say, my machine don't want to start. That's why you always must test run the machine in front of a customer to verify it does run for them. You can see it running, they can see it running, so there's no kind of liability on your end about them coming back and say, oh, you guys are lying to me about stuff like that. So always verify the machine will run in front of a client prior to giving it back to them. Make sure they sign off on it. So if anybody has any comments, questions, whatnot, this has been a quick video detailing the Husqvarna 240 machine that had a hard start and chain problem from the customer. I'll see you guys. Have a nice day.